Today we find ourselves at Bandelier National Monument. And Bandelier is one of the National Park Service's oldest sites. It was designated by President Woodrow Wilson as a national monument on February 11th, 1916. So it's one of the earlier national park sites. And today I am pushing it. I'm arriving close to closing time. That's how it happened to be on my travels. So I'm really glad that I am going to barely catch the visitor center. And you can see here kind of the buildings and stuff. It's kind of some neat architecture, some neat plants. They kind of have it laid out for the area. There's, I think there is a restaurant if you catch it at the right time, and a little museum, and the visitor center, which I wanted to get some of my stamps. I always like when I get to a national park to get the national park stamps and things. So I was glad that I caught the visitor center. I'm here in October. I also didn't have to use the shuttle, which I think they normally make you do a shuttle during the peak visitors of the summer. So I get to park right in the parking lot, which I really like because I do have a pet with me, and they don't allow pets anywhere in the buildings or on the trails, only at the campground or in the parking lot. So I was glad that I didn't have to use the shuttle. But you just need to be advised that the shuttle, I think, is normally from June to October. I think it is a free shuttle, and it leaves from the White Rock Visitor Center to come to the Bandelier Visitor Center. So you'll need to keep that in mind if you're during those months, and during, I think, like it's 9 to 3 p.m. or something. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't have to use the shuttle. I got to park right in the parking lot, even though I did have an RV, because I was late in the day and pushing it. I didn't have to do that. So that was a good thing about hitting the park the time of day I did, and the sun's not as bright because it's still warm out here in North New Mexico, even though we're in October. And as you can see, I'm headed for the Loop Trail, and this is a nice handicap trail right from the visitor center. I think it's like a 1.2 mile loop, and it is handicap accessible, which is nice. I always enjoy being able to see that for people that might have that, still get to get out and see the different things in nature and the different beauty, because of course they want to see it as well, even if you're in a wheelchair. So I'm just going to kind of time lapse here the walk up to headed towards the cliffs. So I'm headed to the kind of the ruins and the remnants of the different dwelling places of they think the Pueblo people built these. So you can kind of see, I think they call this like a kiva or something like that. It's kind of like a round house in the ground. So the trail here is really nice, really not too steep, just kind of traveling along here. You can see some of the brush and flowers and everything, really nice. And then a little farther down there's the Rio Grande, and you could take a different trail and go up to some of the falls if you want to. And then here they've got some of the ruins that aren't right on the cliffs. These ones are just built out here along the field. So Bandelier is best known for the runes and the pictographs and the, kind of the Indian things and the all the stuff related to that. But it also includes 23,000 acres of designated wilderness and over 40 miles of trails that are varying in difficulty from easy footpath to more challenging ones. If you go backcountry hiking, you will need to get a permit at the visitor center. There is a campground, and it does take RVs, but there are no hookups for the RVs. So you just need to keep that in mind. And we're getting closer to what the park is famous for, and that's kind of the different dwelling places here, and a lot with the cliffs and how they built along the cliffs and dug out the cliffs to use for their homes and things. So this is what I was looking for at this park, just to get a closer look of the dwellings. And I'll give you another time lapse here just so you can kind of see. It's actually beautiful terrain, beautiful walk. And we've made it to the cliffs. So I'm very excited here that they actually really let you get close to the cliffs. They allow you to walk up and actually climb into some of the, like where they've hollowed out bigger spots in the rocks, and they've allowed you to, they've got some ladders, and you'll see later that you can climb up and actually get inside them and kind of imagine what things would be like if all the structures were put back. So that's really neat. And you can see it's hard to capture it with it's so tall that it is hard to capture exactly what you're seeing. But this is really an amazing sight. I really enjoyed it. It's really unique. And here you can see that they've got a ladder up here that you can actually climb in. You can look in. You can almost still see the charcoal on top of the roof from where they maybe had a fire up there. And if you look at the sides here, you can kind of see where it looks like they stuccoed the inside or something. It's really unique. You can kind of see the trails here and just a little bit of what they've got, some pictures what they thought maybe it looked like when all the structures were up against the rocks here. So they have this higher loop that we had to go up steps, so you do lose the wheelchair accessible on the higher loop. But even from the bottom loop, you can still look up and see everything, but you can't get right along here. As you can see, you can climb. The trail goes right along the cliffs here, and you can see the different structures here. They have where the bricks were built and the mortar in, and then they have actually like where they look dug out into the cliffs as well. And that's what it looks like facing away from the cliff, and the Rio Grande is right down there. And I would have loved to have been able to go to Painted Caves as well, but I couldn't pull off the time on this trip. It's either a 22-mile hike from the visitor center, or it's a 14.5-mile round trip from a Forest Service road. So I couldn't do that, but if you had time, that looks like that would be an incredible hike, just the scenery and everything, and then you get to see the Painted Cave, which looked pretty neat as well. But even, I mean, here you could speed and walk this trail really quickly, or you can take a little more time and look at the different things. So depending on your time, you can make this go faster or slower. I actually super enjoyed just taking time and looking at the different things and imagining how they had it and the neatness of it. I mean, it's just kind of cool imagining how they did what they did and why. I mean, it's just it would have been a great place to have a house. I mean, you can just imagine your front porch having that view. It's a great spot. So I definitely recommend, if you're kind of interested in any like the old Indian ruins or structures or the different features like this, I definitely recommend this. Also, definitely recommend Chaco Canyon. That is really awesome too. These two were some of my two favorite spots for the different Indian ruins and things. They're both they're different from each other, but both very unique and very fun. It's hard to even capture the Bandelier with how big the cliffs are above here and get it all on camera. And like I said, you can go in here and you can kind of like tour the different places. Actually, they allow you to climb through some of these. You can get pictures. It's really neat that they allow you to do that. The rocks here would be neat even without having the fun of seeing the different Indian runes and the history of it, which kind of add to the kind of neatness of it. But it would be a great walk even if you didn't have those. Just the rock formations are beautiful. So you can kind of see here, you're up, and some of them keep going all behind here and then they're carved out of the rock. Yeah, you can kind of see the trail down there that is handicap accessible, and then you can stay down that one if you need to, or you can come up to this one and just the steps, you just take your, I mean, they're not terrible steps, it's not a hard hike, but you can see that there's definitely turns, there's definitely steps, so be prepared for that if you do take the upper one. But I think it's really cool how they built it all around the rock, and it kind of adds to the fun of it. So the park hours are dawn to dusk, and there is a museum, there is a bookstore, there's a 14-minute movie on kind of the history of Bandelier, and there's a information and a gift shop that offers here at the park. And there are other hikes that you can take other than the different loops here along the bottom from the visitor center. And there's picnic areas, so there's a lot that is offered at this park, and it's a very unique park. I definitely recommend if you're in the area near Los Alamos, New Mexico, that if you've got time, definitely hit this one and just take the walk and enjoy it. I think I hit it at a great time in the evening, because I can imagine that it would be pretty hot in the summer here. Pretty sunny and hot. So make sure you don't forget to take some water if you are taking this hike. And as you can see, it just kind of keeps going and going. You can just walk as far, just keep going along the cliffs. And they do kind of change the style along the farther end. You're getting more of the houses right along built, where you can see the ruins where they had them built up right along, and then the dugout things that would have been behind those outer walls. And you can imagine like the little holes and things where they stuck their logs for the roofs and the second stories. So, and there's a few pictures along here with signs and things that kind of explain what they think they might have looked like. And there are pictographs and things, if you watch the walls closely, that you might see. Just the cliffs are amazing here. They're so tall, and the canyon is beautiful. So I did not go to the falls trail or do any of the other hikes other than the ones right along the bottom, just because I didn't have time. But I definitely enjoyed this park immensely. The scenery, the vegetation, just everything. You can kind of see there's a nice pictograph up there. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, ring the bell, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you again on the next adventure.